Hey guys, so I found this low-carb cauliflower casserole with beef and basil marinara on a website called wholesomeyum.com. It's a great little website. You should definitely check it out for recipes. I didn't use the recipe to a T, but pretty close. So anyways, I started off by drizzling olive oil all over the one head of cauliflower that I had chopped up. And you're going to want to bake this in the oven at 400 for 20 minutes. Now that the cauliflower is in the oven, I'm going to fry up some onion. I used about half of a small onion. Once they've browned a little bit, you can push them over to the side and add your ground beef. If you prefer, you could actually remove these from the pan altogether until the ground beef is cooked up a little bit, but I don't really mind as long as they're over to the side at first. So I chopped up the ground beef into small chunks. Once it's all chopped up, you can add a little bit of Italian seasoning. I used about a teaspoon. You can use a tablespoon if you'd like more. But because I'm using a pre-seasoned, pre-packaged marinara sauce for this recipe, I didn't really need too much seasoning. So now I'm just mixing that up. At this point, you can just let it fry up for a few minutes until it gets a little bit more browned. And once it's a little bit more browned, I added a little bit of garlic powder. So the recipe calls for 2 garlic cloves, so you can use real garlic if you have it on hand, which I didn't. And in this case, I just used a few pinches of garlic powder. I'd say about a teaspoon, but if you love garlic, you can add more. I kind of wish I actually added a little bit more. Again, just mix it around so that the beef is evenly coated with the garlic. We want it all to be nice and flavorful. At this point, the ground beef is about halfway cooked, so I figured why not just mix the onions and the ground beef together so that the ground beef can absorb some of the flavor of the onion as well while it cooks. Now let the beef and onion mixture fry up for a few more minutes, stirring occasionally to make sure that it all cooks up evenly. Now this looks good. It looks completely browned, and at this point we're going to add our basil. So I've chopped up, it's about half a cup of basil. I used fresh basil from my herb garden. Once it's cooked up for about a minute, it should look something like this. And at this point, I'm going to add about a cup and a half of pre-made marinara sauce. I just made sure to find one, again, that is low carb, so just make sure you're checking the labels. In the recipe, she only calls for 1 cup, but I like it a little bit more saucy, so I added a cup and a half. You can use a cup, cup and a half, 2 cups if you really like sauce. Also, in the original recipe, she uses chopped up tomatoes, and I didn't have tomatoes on hand, so that's another reason why I used the additional half cup of marinara. Once it's all nicely mixed up, let that simmer for about 3 or 4 minutes. While the basil and meat sauce is simmering for a few minutes, you can add the baked cauliflower to a casserole dish, and once it's done cooking up, you can add the sauce atop the cauliflower. You guys, this smells so delicious, and all the flavors are going to taste so good together. Trust me on this. I love basil, so if you're not a basil fan, you can also use different herbs, whatever herbs you like. And if you don't like herbs at all, you can probably just omit that altogether and just do a meat marinara sauce. Once you got all that delicious meat sauce piled up on top of the cauliflower, you can add your mozzarella cheese. If you don't have mozzarella cheese, just use whatever shredded cheese you have at home. I did end up having mozzarella cheese, so that's what I used. It turned out really good, guys, so you want to just add a nice layer of cheese on top. I didn't really measure it out. Again, I'm not big into measuring anymore. When I first started cooking, Years ago, I definitely followed recipes more to a T because I was a little bit afraid of veering off and it turning out badly. But once you get comfortable, it's a lot easier to eyeball things. And if you're not there yet, don't worry, you'll get there in time if you keep cooking and experimenting with different recipes. I also sprinkled a little bit of parsley on top. So you want to set your oven to 345 and you want to cook this in the oven for 15 minutes. A little distracted at this point and I kept passing 15 for some reason. But eventually I got it. So you want to do 15 minutes at 375, guys, and once the 15 minutes is over, this is how it should look. I let it cool down for a few minutes, and then I scooped some up, plated it, and enjoyed it. It turned out really good, guys. I hope that if you try this recipe, you really enjoy it, and please leave comments below if you have tried it. Let me know how it tasted. If you switched anything up or changed anything up and it turned out really good, please let me know, because I do plan on making this again. It's healthy, nutritious, delicious. It's everything that you can look for in a low-carb keto recipe. Enjoy!